Hello friends, it's Evelyn here and welcome back to the channel. As always, a huge thank you to everyone who is continuing to support me. Well, as you can see, it is an absolutely gorgeous day today, so Luna and I decided to head out into the garden. This week I've got a really exciting project for you. I absolutely love cosplay, and when I found out that one of my favourite theatre groups, Ventnor Theatre, have decided to do Legally Blonde the musical coming up soon this April, it had to be, yes you guessed it, Elle Woods. So come along with me as I create an ensemble that Elle would be proud of and give snaps to. So we're also going to learn how to create a basic skirt block from our own measurements. So come along on this lovely sunny day with Luna and I, and let's get making. Sandpop. I began this project as usual by sketching out some of my ideas and then hitting the fabric stash to see what I could use to make it. I settled on this gorgeous dusky pink scuba and I decided to create a vintage inspired suit for Elle. Let's begin by working on the pencil skirt, which we are going to draft using a basic skirt block. So grab your pattern making supplies, some pattern paper, your scissors, a tape measure and rulers, a marker pen and pencil, and an eraser. You will need the following measurements to create your skirt block: your hip measurement, waist measurement, the distance between your waist and hips, and your desired skirt length. As always, there is also a written précis below in the description box, so make sure to give that a look over too. Also, don't be afraid to pop a comment down below and I will endeavour to help you. Today I am drafting at 50% scale just so you can see everything on the screen. To begin drafting your skirt block, we are going to plot a rectangle on your pattern paper. The height of this rectangle is your desired skirt length. The width of your rectangle is half of your hip measurement plus ½ inch of ease plus dart amounts. Now for your darts, standard darts on a skirt block are 2 darts in the back and 1 in the front, each of which is ½ inch, for a total of 1.5 inches. However, if the difference between your hips and waist is greater than 10 inches, I suggest you make each of your darts a full 1 inch for a total of 3 inches. This really helps when fitting to a curvier figure. Next, draw a vertical line in the centre of this rectangle, effectively cutting it into 2. The left-handed side is going to be the back of your skirt block and the right will form the front. Working on the back, we are going to plot 1/4 of our waist measurement plus 2 darts from the top left-hand corner towards the centre, making a mark like so. We are then going to make a mark ½ inch above this mark, then joining this point to the top left-hand corner like so, drawing in our back waistline. Measure that new created waistline and divide it into thirds, marking them like so. From the top corners, we are then going to plot our waist to hip measurement, drawing a horizontal line across like so. This is our hip line. Join the waistline to the hip line at the centre using a curved line. It can really help to use a French curve here. Now we are going to create the darts in the back of our skirt block. Darts are used in dressmaking to create shape and form. To create a guideline for our darts, I am going to draw a straight line from the edge of that upper line to the hip line at the centre like so. I've done so in marker pen, but I suggest you do so in pencil. We are now going to use this guideline to create our darts from the third marks we marked earlier. And a gridded ruler is really helpful here because you can place it along the guideline and get perfect parallel lines for your darts. The dart closest to the hip curve is a standard 5 inches long. And the second dart closest to centre back is a standard 5.5 inches long. What I suggest you do here is when you are creating your first skirt, baste your darts with a longer stitch and try the skirt on. You can then decide whether you need to lengthen or shorten your darts personally for you. To draw in your darts, plot half of the width either side of the points at the waistline. Then, using a ruler, join these points to the end of your drafted parallel lines. There you have it, your back darts. Believe it or not, that is actually the back of your block completed. So now it's time to get working on the front. As for the back, we are going to plot 1/4 of our waist measurement, plus this time 1 dart from the top right hand corner in towards the centre of our pattern, making a mark. Once again, we are going to make a second mark 1/2 inch above this, joining this mark to that top right hand corner like so, creating our front waistline. Draw in your front hip line curve by joining the edge of the waistline to the hip line at the centre of the pattern like so. Divide the front waistline by 3 and mark the third that is closest to the hip curve. Create a guideline for your front dart by joining the edge of the waistline to the centre at the hip line with a straight line like so. Using this guideline, draw a parallel line from your marked third point that measures 4.75 inches, the standard amount for a front dart on a skirt block. To draw in your front dart, plot half of its width either side of that third mark, and then using a straight ruler, join those points to the end of your parallel line like so. There you have it, your front dart. And there you have it, your basic skirt block is complete. Now get to cutting it out, leaving some excess paper at the top. To accurately cut out your pattern around your darts, score the darts like so to enable you to fold the pattern paper, making sure to protect any surfaces. Folding your darts like this on a pattern and then cutting a smooth line makes for a more accurate pattern and a neater garment when you come to construct it too. And here is my completed block at 100%. As you can see, I've added some labels stating what the pattern is. I've also added a fold sign on the skirt front. Remember, there are no seam allowances on this pattern, so be sure to add those while you are cutting out. And here I am pinning the new skirt front pattern to my fabric. The only change I made for this pencil skirt was to taper the edge in slightly for a more pencil skirt look. I then cut out my fabric, adding a seam allowance as I went. Finishing up by marking my darts. I then repeated this process for the back of the skirt, cutting out 2 pieces this time rather than 1 piece on the fold. Construction begins by sewing all of my darts. I then installed an invisible zip in the back of the skirt. I find it easier to do this at this stage because then you are not dealing with so much fabric or bulk. Next, I joined the skirt front and skirt back together at the side seams. I am using a stretch needle on this scuba and a narrow zigzag to stitch with. This allows the stitching to stretch alongside the fabric. With the main body of the skirt nearly completely assembled, it is time to tackle the waistband. For a basic waistband, cut a piece of your fabric that is as long as your waist measurement plus 2¼ inches for an underlap and seam allowance, and is as high as twice your desired waistband width, plus 1¼ inches for seam allowance. I like using 5/8 inch seam allowance on waistbands because it gives you more fabric to work with. And here I am cutting out my waistband, and you'll see that I am simply drafting the measurements straight onto the fabric rather than creating a paper pattern first. To construct the waistband, fold it right sides together widthways and close one side completely like so. On the other end of the waistband, we are going to create our underlap. To do so, begin stitching along the length of the waistband at 1 5/8 of an inch, stitching for 1 inch. Then, placing your needle into your fabric, pivot around so that you can stitch closed the short end like so. Opening up the waistband, I am joining one long side of it, right sides together, to my skirt, pinning all the way along the waist seam and then joining it with a narrow zigzag. The remaining long side of the waistband is pinned to the inside of the skirt with the seam allowances folded under. You can choose to slip stitch this closed for a more invisible finish, but this time I decided to top stitch the waistband in place as a design feature. To finish the back of the skirt, I hemmed the skirt from the bottom of the zip downwards. I decided to leave 4 inches open at the bottom, ironing the seam allowances down and then top stitching like so to create a stylish vent in the back of the skirt. Folding the seam allowance under, I then proceeded to top stitch the lower hem in place. Finally, to finish the skirt, I attached some Velcro to secure the waistband. Now onto the blouse. I absolutely love this Onella blouse and the pattern is available free from Mood Fabrics. There is a link in the description box below this video. You may already have seen this blouse featured in one of my styling videos previously, and I'll pop a card to it up above. When I was thinking about this video, I knew that this blouse would be perfect for Elle. On to the final element of this outfit now, the Bolero jacket. And I am really happy to be making another Peter Pan Bolero. This is my 3rd Bolero and I absolutely adore this pattern. It is from Gertie's Patreon, Gertie's World. Again, the link is in the description box. I began by cutting out the pattern pieces while I was being towered over by the scary Loonzilla. Absolutely hilarious. I love how she comes in and just doesn't matter what shot she's in, she's just there, she's herself. I think we all need to be a little bit more Luna, definitely. For this version of the Bolero, I decided to dispense with the Peter Pan collar and add a back seam so that my Bolero matched with the back seam of my skirt, and I began by stitching this back seam. Next, I began stitching the long shoulder seams and underarm seams using again a narrow zigzag. This pattern is incredibly quick and easy to put together. Because the sleeve is cut on, there's no worrying about setting in sleeves, it's all one piece, and I definitely suggest you check out Gertie's Patreon and give this Peter Pan Bolero a go. The next step was creating the facings. Having pinned the facing all around my garment, it was then time to sew all the way around right sides together. Having understitched the facings, I then turned them to the inside of the garment, then top stitching at 1 1/4 inches. I absolutely love top stitching, especially on vintage garments. It really gives them a wonderful decorative finish. To keep the facings in place at the shoulder seam, I then top stitched along this seam, catching the facing underneath as I did so. And my fabulous pink bolero is nearly finished. Having folded in the seam allowance, I am now top stitching the hem on the edge of the sleeves. To finish my bolero, I hand stitched a popper to the top as a fastening. And without further ado, it is now time for the reveal. I knew from the second I designed this outfit that if I managed to pull it off, it would definitely be something I loved. And sure enough, I absolutely adore this outfit. This pencil skirt is making me want to make a million more, and I can see this pattern getting a lot of use in the future months. I love the choices I made for this ensemble, and I love how it's come together. And yes, not a day goes by that Luna isn't in the shot, and she definitely needed a pink outfit of her own. This Onella blouse continues to be one of my favourite ever makes. It's just such a versatile piece, and it was the first time I had ever created a long sleeved blouse. I absolutely love it. Did I also mention that as well as having a love for everything vintage inspired, sewing and pattern making, I also happen to have a first class honours degree in law, just like Elle. So from one legally blonde to another, never compromise. We are back in the garden with a pair of shades I'm sure Elle herself would approve of. I absolutely love how this project turned out. I knew I'd love it because musicals, Elle Woods, vintage inspired, pink, what's not to love? But I adore the separates I've created this week for this project, especially the pencil skirt. It's incredibly comfy to wear with the scuba fabric I decided to make it in, and they are a great addition to your wardrobe and can be styled casually and smartly, and I'll be showing you just how to do so coming up soon here on the channel. But until next week, I want to wish everyone at the Ventnor Theatre Group the very best for their coming up production of Legally Blonde. And as always, the links are in the description box below, so those of you who are close to the Isle of Wight, please grab your tickets and check it out. Break a leg, everyone. And Luna is sending a special break a leg to Spanky and Rufus, who are her canine friends in the show. So everybody have a great production. But until next week, bye!